Hey, Bistro friends and family, Jill here from the Pet Bistro, and I have our friend Carrie with us today over at Lotus. And today we're talking about feline nutrition. Lotus has a lot of great options, and I'm excited to share that with you guys, or have Carrie share it with you guys on the importance on feeding high quality food. We'll talk a little bit about raw feeding. Many of you guys know that we have lots of different raw options for cats. Um, Carrie, this might be surprising to you, but I've been raw feeding since 1998.
That's amazing.
It's a long time. It was way before a lot of people
Before
thought
it
it
was
was,
cool, right?
well, even before a lot of people knew there was options.
Yeah.
And I mean, God, when I started my business, there was only a couple raw food companies to choose from unless
Sure.
you could figure out how to make it on your own. So we're just really excited. Lotus has options kind of across the board for our cats.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you take it away.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk
Of course.
about cats. Talking about cats is I could talk about it all day. So I'll try to rein it in a little bit here and get the basics about kitties out there and everything that Lotus has to offer.
So real quick, before you start,
Yes.
how many cats do you have?
I actually only have one cat right now.
Okay. and you have a dog as well, remind
I
me?
have two dogs. Yes, I have
Two
two
dogs.
dogs
Okay.
and one cat. So Max is the cat. He's a big orange tabby, and he likes to eat. So
Is he the boss in the house? Usually the cats
he
end
is
up
the
being the
boss in the
boss in the
house.
house.
Yeah. We adopted him when he was a kitten. So we've had the pleasure of introducing him to multiple different types of food. So he is a garbage disposal, which is not, too common when it comes to kitties. But yeah, we were able to do that for him, and now he will eat anything we give him, which is great.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Great. All right, let's get started.
All right. So I guess I want to introduce Lotus a little bit first for those who haven't been on a webinar here with us before. So we are Lotus Pet Foods. We've been around since 2003. We are a family-owned and operated company. We're based in Southern California. We own and operate our own cannery down in Southern California, and that's also where we make all of our raw cat food as well. We've been oven baking for 21 years, which is really cool. So when I say oven baking, that means we oven bake our dog and cat food. Today, we're obviously going to be talking about cats. So we do have one of the only oven baked cat foods that is available out there, and the kitties seem to really like it. So that is just, Lotus history in a nutshell here. I've been in the pet industry for 20 years now, and I love talking about cats and their specific needs. So what makes a cat different? Cats and dogs are very different. They live in our houses, they sleep in our beds. So a lot of people look at cats and dogs as maybe needing the same type of nutrition, but they're pretty different. So strict obligate carnivores. So that means they don't even have the enzyme in their stomach to break down carbohydrates effectively. So that is probably the biggest difference between a cat and a dog. Cats are also not efficient drinkers. So they have that little sandpapery tongue. That sandpapery tongue is biologically used to rip meat and tendons off of bones because that's what they would be eating. So that's why they have tongues like that. And those tongues are just not made to drink water like a dog's tongue. Have you seen that slow motion video of the dogs drinking water and their tongue kind of scoops backwards and then into their mouth?
I have seen that.
There would not be a video like that for cats, as you know. So cats should be getting all of their moisture from their diet. But with that being said, we know that there are a ton of picky kitties out there. Like I was talking about my cat, Max, we've had the pleasure of feeding him multiple different textures, dry food, canned food, raw food throughout his entire life. So he will eat anything that we give him. Not every cat is going to be like that, though. So cats are called imprint eaters, and that means whatever they wean to after they are done with mommy's milk is the food that they're going to see as their safe place or just what they're comfortable with and what they know. So if you have a kitten, the best time to introduce new foods, different textures, like I said, dry, can or raw, it's the best time to do it. But that doesn't mean an older picky cat cannot be switched onto something different. When I worked in pet retail, I heard, that a lot. My cat's so picky, they're persnickety, they won't touch this, they won't touch that. Cats do rule the house, and they will tell you what they want and how it's going to go. But with a lot of
So
patience
true.
and persistence, you can switch your kitty over if you're looking to incorporate something different. So we do have a lot of different options. I'm going to start talking about our oven baked kibble. So this, obviously, a dry food is dry. It does not have the moisture in it, but there are cats out there. There are cat owners out there that they want the convenience of a kibble, but they want something better than the regular kibble that they see either at the grocery store or on the big box store shelves. And this is what is going to be better for your kitty. So this is an oven baked kibble. We call it our oven baked nuggets for kitties. The benefits of feeding an oven baked kibble is that the nutrients are retained in the cooking process. So 90 to 100% protein retention. That means the entire chain of amino acids is intact in the final product, which is what cats really need. So being obligate carnivores, they require a high protein diet. So all of that being intact in the final product is what is going to make an oven-baked kibble better than an extruded kibble. And then 90 to 100% vitamin retention. So all of those good nutrients that is in the ingredients are still there in the final product. So 40% fresh meat also. So that is just the fresh meat inclusion in these diets. There is also some meal in there to help with the protein levels, but 40% fresh meat, so perfect for the carnivorous kitties. And then one really cool thing about our oven-baked kibbles, it has 50% less sugar. So one of the top chronic diseases that cats suffer from in their life is diabetes. And that's because a lot of cats are fed a diet that is very high in carbohydrates. And because they don't have that enzyme in their body to break it down, they can get diabetes at a higher rate than a dog would. So an oven-baked kibble delivers half of the amount of sugar. So that's going to be good for kind of preventing that sort of stuff from happening later on in life. So that is our oven baked kibble. We have 4 different flavor options. We have a low fat, which, if a kitty needs to lose a little bit of weight, that might be a great option. We have our regular chicken. We have a grain-free duck, and then grain-free fish as well. The grain-free fish is really cool because it's all wild caught fish. There's nothing farmed at all in there. And it's really high in fresh fish. So it is very palatable, even for the picky cats that don't want to eat anything else. They tend to like that fish one a lot. One thing that I can add about all of our food, the kibble is, well, not all of our food, but the kibble specifically is made up in Canada. So it does have European Union standards on there. So very high quality meat that goes in there. Everything is hormone-free, antibiotic-free, and non-GMO, which is really great. So you're just giving the best quality ingredients in that kibble for the kitties.
And those are all things that we love. I mean, that is part of our bistro promise here at the Pet Bistro, is making sure that all of our food that we carry is wheat, corn, and soy free, and that we're, those standards that Lotus follows is a lot of the standards that we provide to pet parents as well.
Yes. It's really cool to have a kibble that is oven baked and still meets all those options. So
yeah,
great. Now, cats being desert animals, they naturally would be eating, little lizards or birds or whatever they would find out there, and that's where all their moisture would be from. You don't find, lakes or ponds or anything really out in the desert. So if you are feeding a kibble, we do recommend getting some moisture in their diet, whatever that looks like. Where for most cat owners, that looks like giving canned food occasionally, whether once a day or every other day or a little bit on top of the kibble, whatever the case might be. We do have a ton of moisture-rich, high-protein canned foods with different textures. So there's a lot of different options for those picky cats out there. You'll see in these 2 bowls, these are our just juicy food for cats. So these are going to be shredded meat in a gravy or a broth. It's actually, we don't put any water in any of these cans. It is the broth from the meat cook-off. So the chicken will have chicken broth, the venison broth, and so on and so on. But that makes for these cans to be even more nutritious and even more delicious. So the way I like to think about that, if you were to make chicken noodle chicken noodle soup from scratch. You go through all of the trouble of making, let's say, bone broth, and you cook the carcass, and you have this amazing, it smells amazing. And right before you feed it to your family, you strain all the broth off and just put hot water in. Not as great, right? Doesn't sound as appealing. So our food does not have any water in it. It's really just the broth from the cook-off, which makes it really yummy. So these Just Juicy cans are 95% protein. So whatever protein it is, that makes up almost the entire can. And just a couple of like carrots in there for antioxidant purposes. So we are pretty big on antioxidants in our food. All of our food, except the raw food, does have fruits and veggies in it. So can help protect our kitty cat cells. And then we have a whole bunch of different options for pate for the kitties that cannot handle chunks of any type. We've got the traditional pate here. We do have some unique proteins. So we have a duck, a sardine, a pork. So lots of different options for cats that might need different proteins if they have any allergies or anything like that. One really great thing about our cans is that we do not have any carrageenan, guar gum, or xanthan gum in it. So no gums at all. Gums can sometimes create digestive upset. So if, there's a customer that has, your kitty is continuously showing signs of like allergies or digestive upset, things like that, try feeding a food that doesn't have any gums in it. And you could see a change in their health just by doing that. So we've got a lot of different options for everybody to try.
Great info. The other thing that I love about the pate is it actually comes in the large can. So if you have lots of kitties or you're feeding a scoop of pate to everybody and you have a multi-cat household, that can be really cost effective as well.
Yeah, those big cans are wonderful. They're really economically priced. Some even, like national brands are priced the same as ours, but the benefit is that we make it in our own cannery. We grind all the meat ourselves. So I think it's also one other thing that's really cool about our pates is we don't buy any pre-purchased ground meat. So we get all like the chicken breast, the turkey thighs, we get all of that in whole and we grind it ourselves. So we know exactly what's going in the cans, which is really awesome. So
love it.
Yeah. The next thing I want to show everybody is our raw food for cats. So this is where, in a perfect world, every cat would be eating a raw food, but we know it's not a perfect world. That's why we've got multiple options for all the kitties out there. But our raw cat food is really unique, and it comes in this tub format here. I love the tubs. It's all self-contained, so you just take the whole tub out, and once it's thawed, you scoop and serve. So, similar to like what you were saying with the pates, if you're just feeding a tablespoon to the kitties on top of their kibble or mixing in with the cans or whatever the case might be, it's a really convenient way to feed raw food. So these raw foods are all 95% protein. It will have the muscle meat from said animal. So like chicken muscle meat. So it's usually, or not usually, it's always chicken breast, chicken thighs. And then we have the heart and liver from same species. So the chicken has chicken heart and liver, the beef, down the line, they all have same species, heart and liver. And those three ingredients round these diets out almost 100% nutritionally. So we don't have to have a synthetic vitamin pack. And then we also don't have any fruits or veggies or ground bone in these recipes. So we did that because if you were to get like a chicken thigh and it has bone in it, you grind it up, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to take the calcium and phosphorus levels at whatever value those bones give you. But when you take that bone out of the equation, you can precisely formulate the diets to be exactly where you want them to be with the calcium and phosphorus. So we use ground eggshell powder for the calcium, which is a really cool ingredient. And then it has very low phosphorus. So the phosphorus content on all of these is about 1% on a dry matter basis. So it's also going to be good for aging kitties that have delicate kidneys, things like that. So, but yeah, this raw food comes in 3 different sizes. So what you see pictured here is our 25-ounce tub. That's the biggest tub it comes in. It also comes in a 17-ounce tub and then a a single serve 3.75 ounce tub, which I really love. So if anybody is interested in trying raw food, but you just are kind of on the fence, you don't want to deal with raw food, you love the convenience of can, your kitty's eating all the moisture that they like, those little 3.75 ounce tubs are the perfect way to transition, not only for your cat, but for you into feeding raw food. So you just thaw the whole thing out, you feed it just like a can, and you recycle the container. So it's really convenient, and your kitty's going to be getting the best food out there. So
Okay, so real quick, on all the raw formulas, they are all single protein.
They are all
right?
single protein. Yep, nothing mixed in there whatsoever.
Perfect. And so I actually feed quite a bit of raw, and Lotus raw. So I actually have a kitty. All my cats actually are good in the kidney department, but I have a kitty that actually has her teeth are pretty terrible, and she's got a pretty, I would consider it a weak jaw. Like most of my cats can power through a chicken neck or some sort of raw meaty bone, and that is like not her jam. Or if I feed it a different brand and there's maybe bigger bone chunks in there, you can tell it irritates her. So we actually use quite a bit of Lotus for her. Nice. If anybody is interested, we also offer these in cases. So if you have, again, multiple cats, or you just like buying in bulk quantities, we can offer the cases or the tubs in cases as well, which helps with cost. So there's definitely some options. If we have any of our customers or pet parents that are watching that are interested in diving a little further into raw, I myself have, like I said, I mentioned to Carrie earlier, I got into raw feeding in 1998 when our family dog, he was a Yorkie, Max, had cancer, and we kind of explored this whole diet idea at that time and switched him over. But all of my cats have been either raw fed and bred, or transitioned to raw, like you said, right when they get home. We offer all different textures, flavors, varieties. So the more proteins you can get in rotation, that is also a good thing for kitties as well. But I totally agree. Some of the things that you see with raw feeding are obviously smaller stools, less stinkier stools, better skin, better coat, more energy. We also find that cats kind of, if they're a little on the flabby side, tend to lean out.
Sure. Yes.
I know this usually seals the deal for most people that are on the fence about feeding raw. At one point I had 6 cats. I'm down to 4. But most often I don't even know when they use the litter box, and because their poop doesn't stink. The only time I actually know that they're going is because I visually see them in the box.
Yes.
Which is usually like a game changer for a multi-cat household.
It is.
When you have multiple litter boxes. So
yes, I have people are usually shocked that I even have a cat at all if they come over to my house. For one, he hides so they don't see him, so they don't know he's there. But I have one. So he has 2 litter boxes. I have one of them. It looks like a planter. It's got like a tree coming out of the top of it, and it's in my living room. That is how much the poop does not smell. You do not, you don't know.
Yes, I know. It's amazing. It's pretty amazing. But even like fur and coat and my cats do drink water, but it's definitely not to the level that most cats would. Just because of the high moisture content. Sometimes I'll even add a little bit extra bone broth or some goat milk or something like that, just so I know they're getting moisture on like hot summer days or in the middle of winter when it's super dry in the house. Trying to think some of the other things that people see with cats. I feel like they're more satisfied with their meal. Like we don't have cats that are always meowing or always going to the bowl. Like they're very satisfied with their meal and their portion.
Yes, I would agree with that too. Yeah. So, and then also cats get a bad rap for having really smelly urine because it's high in ammonia, but most of the time that smells even worse when they're on a dry food because they are not having that moisture content that they need. So on top of the poop smelling less, the urine also is more diluted, so it does not smell as bad either. It still is going to have that signature kitty pee smell, but not nearly as bad when they're on a moisture rich diet. So, I always
Totally
say
agree.
any moisture that you can get into a cat's diet is going to be very beneficial to them. So if you're at a stage in life that you have to feed kibble, whether you work long hours or it is what it is. You got to feed kibble. Any little bit of moisture that they can get into their cat's diet is going to be beneficial. So,
and we always say some raw is better than no raw. So, I mean, I've had employees, customers that sometimes you get the cats, they're addicted to Friskies or they're addicted to, and they just won't transition. Sometimes the best you can do is half and half raw, half whatever they prefer or like. I mean, cats can be, I always joke with people, I'm like, if I understood cats and all of their nuances, I would, yes, sign me up. People would be coming to me in droves, but the cats like to keep us on our toes. They always switch it up, or they like something one day and the next day they want something new. So
I think
the variety is helpful.
That is, yes, I think that's something that's to be said for cats too, is to keep them, once you get them transitioned, kind of, a variety is wonderful for cats. Different proteins, different textures, all that sort of stuff. So I love rotating. My dogs and my cats actually get a different flavor every month, whether it's the kibble for the dogs or the cans or raw for the kitty. So lots of good options.
Yes, love it.
And then I think probably one of the biggest questions people might have is transitioning. So you're on a kibble now, and now you know all of this wonderful stuff about cat nutrition, and you want to switch to cans. If you get some cans and you go home and your cat doesn't like it, don't stop there. There is hope. You have start very slow, put a little bit of the food maybe next to their bowl, let them get used to the smell before putting it right in their bowl. You just need to be slow and persistent for those really picky kitties. So what tips do you have for transitioning cats?
Ooh, so sometimes you have to work in the old food and make the transition. I always tell people you have to be persistent. So putting it down once is not good enough. You might have to put it down a couple times. Sometimes hiding the food, so maybe not putting it in the same spot that you would just put the food down at, and cats are hunters by nature. So sometimes maybe hiding it in a bedroom under a bed or in another room or somewhere where they might have to find it. If they're addicted to kibble, sometimes you have to grind the kibble into a powder and sprinkle that over top or mix it in. Sometimes doing some wand play. So the one thing that we forget about with kitties is their enrichment that they need. And if you do 20 to 30 minutes of wand play, so fluttering, something that they're chasing after, pouncing on, all of that actually is mimics what they would do in the wild. Cats, if you ever watch them, they catch something and like smush a fly like 4 or 5 times because they play with their food. But it also releases these hormones that make them ready to eat. So if we do this wand play with them and then we have their food or bowl or new option ready, and that's how we end the wand play, with the toy next to the food, and then you remove that and have the food ready to go. Sometimes they're more apt to try it because they've worked up all these hormones.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
I mean, sometimes it's just, finding the right formula, whatever that is. And it's not, and maybe it's flavor. Some cats, if for some reason they eat a food or they're feeling ill or they, unfortunately vomit the food with a hairball or something like that, you might have to move to a new flavor because sometimes they won't go back. If you're feeding chicken and we have some vomit, they're probably not going to go back to chicken right away. You might have to go to beef or pork or something and then work chicken back in. So, it's all
lots of options.
Yes, but it's also like a huge puzzle piece as well as finding the thing that works for specifically for your cat,
Yeah.
or what gets your cat excited about trying something new. And I totally agree with imprinting.
Hmm.
Um, the more variety, the more textures, the more things you can introduce into your, especially if you get a kitten. I love it when people come in and say, no, I have an 8-year-old adopted cat and he is ravenous and eats everything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
They were probably in
Cats,
a rescue.
yes, cats shouldn't be picky. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of a misnomer. Cats shouldn't be picky. A lot of times though, what happens is we find one can that they eat really well. And so we think that we, us humans put our emotion into it and say, oh, well, they must really like just this one flavor or just this one can. So we go out and buy, a case of it. And
Yeah.
then that's all we feed instead of
Yep.
trying to work other things back in there, because like you
For
said,
sure.
things do happen. There's shortages
Ooh.
on
Yeah.
product, or labels or cans, or unfortunately pandemic, we saw a lot of that where we had
Yes.
shortages and
Yep.
people were forced to try something new. So there's always these different reasons that I think is great to have
Yeah.
a lot of variety in your cat's diet.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, any of our staff, also, most of our staff has cats at home too. So we can always help with additional tips and tricks after. A lot of times we ask clarifying questions like, what have you tried?
Yeah.
And have you, altered that this way or that way, just to go home with a couple other things to figure out how to get
Cool.
your cats to eat better for you.
Wonderful. We do have, we have some sales going on this month. We have $5 off our, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear that.
A little bit. You're good.
We have $5 off our dry cat food. And then we
Yes.
have our 3.75-ounce raw tubs. So the little guys,
Yes.
they're on BOGO this month. So if anybody's interested in trying a couple of different flavors, we also have a variety pack, which is really awesome. I don't have a picture of it handy. We have a variety pack that comes with 6 of our 7 different flavor options. So if you are looking to find the right formula for your kitty, that's the best option to try all of them.
Yep. So, and the variety pack is raw. Just
Yes,
to
yes,
clarify.
variety
Yep, that's
pack.
the
Yep.
raw, since we were talking about the
Yep.
couple different monthly promotions.
Yeah.
And you guys are always great about running monthly promotions too.
Yeah.
So if people are looking to stock up or whatnot, that's always a great way to do it.
Okay.
Or like I said, we have case pricing on both canned food and raw food, especially if you have multiple cats in the house or you just like to feed variety. That can always be helpful as well. So real quick, Carrie, what's your favorite Lotus product for cats?
My favorite food, well, my cat's favorite food is the venison, the raw venison. You can just tell when your cat prefers something. He will eat all of the other flavor varieties, but you can just tell that his favorite is the venison. It's a little bit bloodier. It's a little bit more kind of, the muscle is a little bit more like fibrous kind of. So I think he just likes he likes that better.
That would make sense. Yeah, my cats definitely like any raw food that has a little bit more juice to it.
Yeah.
Or even I would say even sometimes like a thicker grind to the meat or a
Yeah.
chunkier grind to the meat. Sometimes that also gets them excited about eating their meal as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Weather, I know this sounds crazy, and maybe you've dealt with this, but in Michigan, just because we see all the seasons, my cats tend to also eat their meals better like spring and fall with the weather changes. Like, and it makes sense. I mean, deep summer heat, I don't really feel like eating a lot either, right? So it makes sense that if they're laying out on our sun porch or something and they're really hot for the day, that they're not always super excited about meals. But
I've
usually if they don't eat one meal good, the next meal they pig out at. So
yeah.
it's always good. It's always good. So we don't have any questions today. Unfortunately, it looks like we had a couple spammers. I guess we're that popular. We got a couple spammers. But if anybody's catching this at a later time or you guys have questions about Lotus, make sure you put it in the comments. Carrie and I are more than happy to answer questions. You guys know where to find me. I'm bouncing back and forth between both locations throughout the week. Maddie is here at Warren. She's always happy to help you guys, as well as Kayla. and Nate. And then at the other location, Jaden, Kindred, Sarah, and Caitlin are always happy to answer questions over there as well. And Lewis, Lewis and I are just the servants to our 4 cats. But we're happy to answer any questions or help you guys out with transitioning. We also have, not this coming weekend, this weekend is Mother's Day, for all of our fur moms out there, but next weekend, which is Saturday, May 18th and Sunday, May 19th, we are having an in-store event, a shop local event. So anyone who makes a purchase gets a $5 bistro buck. And if you spend $59, you get one of our really awesome goodie bags that Lotus is going to have samples in.
Yes.
So if you're interested in trying Lotus, we will have some samples being handed out, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So that is another great way to try some of their products, if you guys are interested. But
cool.
I don't have any other questions unless you do, Carrie, or you could think of
I
anything.
don't have any questions, but I wanted to tell you something funny that I saw about a cat. There was a picture that I found. It's just, a picture of a cat. And next to it, it says, 4 years ago, I lived in a bush and hunted for my meals. Now I have 2 passive incomes, my own house, and a personal chef. Follow me for financial advice.
So true. I mean, it's so true. I had a veterinarian a long time ago tell me, you can tell a dog to do something, but you better ask your cat nicely. And I was like, good Lord, that couldn't be any further from the truth.
Yep.
Can you please not knock the plate off the countertop?
Right.
Can you please eat this delicious meal I'm giving you?
Exactly.
Or at least try it. Could you at least try the meal? Oh, goodness. Well, it's been fun today. Thank you for all of your knowledge about Lotus and feline nutrition. I'm sure we'll be back talking about dog food here sometime soon. And again, if anybody has any questions, leave it in the comments and we'll circle back around. We'll see you guys later.